Okay, good morning, everyone. Um, in today's lecture, I would like to talk a little bit about flowcharts. So before we do that, I would want to remind that I'm expecting today to see most of your presentations. Don't forget your voiceovers, your comments, and check everyone else's slides, comment, ask questions, make remarks, and so on. It's supposed to be a alternative to in-class communication, and so let's be active in that area as well. Also, from last lecture, only one person had submitted something that I could not read, so he will resend it because of file format or something. The rest didn't, so please do that. All what we did last time in game level scenario design thing class. Okay, and for today we will talk about flowcharts. So you see this nice picture here. So basically this is some software user interface flowchart. Actually it's a game, but basically what are flowcharts and why do we need them and where do we use them? So first of all, it's one of the ways to kind of keep a track of interactive things. So games are not books which are read linearly and you just go through pages and so on. So in this case we choose something and something happens. If we chose something, one thing, then one thing happens. If we chose something else happens. So basically there is this interactivity, and sometimes it's hard to keep a track of what you did, what you haven't done. So it's also used even in web design. So let's say your task is to purchase an item, and then the web designer draws a chart. Okay, so how does the person go to a landing page? From a landing page you have to find the product page, do the buying thing, enter credit card thing, and so on and so on. If it's a credit card, if it's some different type of card, what sort of payment method, and so you have to implement 25 different payment methods and you forget 2 of them and your website is bad. So you do a flowchart. You could do lists, of course, but more interactive things, more interconnectivity between elements. It's easier to work with flowcharts. So let's have a look at this one. So we launch an application. This is about a UI basically, and what we get is main menu. What do we have in main menu? We have one option to quit. What happens when we quit? We close application. So we're out of problem. What else? Some sort of instruction screen. So you go to instructions and there is next page, and there is back. So basically there's 2 pages of instructions, some tutorial, something like that. Or you hit play. If you hit play, then you can select either it's easy game or hard, and that there is some logic that calibrates your load game thing, your I don't know, stats of characters. I don't know what does it. I don't know what it is for, but basically that's what it does. So now it loads the level. Okay, that's the end of it. So you load the level, checkpoint, I don't know what they mean by that. It starts voice commands, and then of course we would need to know what the game is to understand what exactly it is, but again, you puzzle solved, so you finish the game. We have result screen, so basically you kill 25 monsters, you earn 25 points, and then you have the abilities to go to main menu, to quit the game, or to load another level. So basically that's the basic setup for, in this case, some games user interface. Where else do we use this flowchart? So basically anything that is interactive, anything that there is some sort of there is a choice, and the choice matters. So if you say load game, it matters because it load games instead of it creates a new game. So there you could already do a flowchart for that. So imagine dialogues. You need to write dialogues, and your character is able to choose a dialogue. So it's not linear. In that, if that's the case, you say go to hell, and then the response will be very different. The voiceover actor has to write it, record it, first the scenario author has to write the dialogue and so on. So basically not to lose track of what's happening, to have all the lines of dialogue, not to happen that you said something and suddenly the character is silent, there is no dialogue, and the game cannot progress because you forgot something. So in dialogue it could be important. And then even character development, so you progress because you learned some skills, and if that opens abilities to learn other skills but not the other ones, because you learned like, I don't know, sword mastery, so you won't be able to learn more complex bow shooting skills because you're continuing on the sword path, and so on. Also all sorts of inventory upgrades. You have a sword, then you enchant it gets to level 2. If it's enchanted, then you open up possibilities to enchant with some other spells and who knows what. All sorts of quests could have it. First you go to talk to bartender. If you do that, then you have a dialogue and he tells you some hints. If you don't go to a bartender, then the game should also think what to do, how to progress the level. So might be game forces you to meet some other character who either gives you hints or replaces the bartender in a bar. Classical quests for medieval games. For story, of course, if the story is deep and there is possibility of change, that something different happens, then our story or narrative could have a flowchart as well. And even a very technical in level design. For instance, just an example from what is it called? Source 2, Valve's, or was it Source 1? I don't remember. One of these game engines from Valve. There's a hammer editor, and for instance I want to make that if you put an object to a correct place, imagine a key in a door, then the door opens. So very simple thing, right? But in technical, how do you have to do it? Basically you have to have trigger boxes. Trigger boxes have to be triggered only by specific objects, so that object has to be brought to put on the trigger box. Trigger box has to do some filtering to find the name of the object, that only that object works. So there is some sort of filter. Then the trigger box shoots the result. Okay, the trigger has been triggered. So then the door has to, the door logic then starts working. So even for that technical things, of course it depends on your game engine, but even for that you could have flowcharts if it's more complex, not just put an object and the door opens. If there is like put 5 objects in the correct order, that already starts to be confusing, and flowcharts would help here. Okay, so let's move on with examples. So what is it? Divinity's origin sign, original sin, what the hell? Cannot read. Okay, so some other examples. What do we have here? First conversation with Jackson at grocery store, blah 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 blah. And then you talk and you can either refuse or accept. If you accept, something happens. The hero already asked about the Jackson's suspicions, so there's different dialogue. Or if the hero has talked with Sabrina before in tavern, then something different happens, and so on and so on. So you see, even like what you talked before with what characters, that already influences the situation, and another flowchart, another diagram, another logic has to be found. I will post links to those examples to examine better if you want to. Yeah, that's the same one. So another thing, how beautiful they should be. There are lots of programs to make those flowcharts, but of course we don't have to use them unless you're really working on it and have a really complex system. Then you should consider looking at these programs. But on the other hand, it could be as simple as that. That's also a flowchart, right? Maybe it's a bit harder to understand. Like it's a bit crowded here. This might be spacing could be better, but you see it goes here, 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 and then either here, either here. On the other hand, if you have time and you could make it much more nice. So RuneScape quest map, novice quest, intermediate quest, experience quest, and so on. And you have this beautiful map with I don't know what these are. You know, very stylized, very nicely made. So this you could even hang on a wall if you're a fan of this game. Alright, what else do we have? Let's see, what is this? Okay, I lost the page, so I don't remember what it is. But basically, it could be very technical. Your flowchart could be very technical, or could be very beautiful. Doesn't matter. I mean, of course, to change something here, it's easy. Here, to change something would be much harder. So this is kind of a final version to show for people. Okay, some famous games. Fallout, was it 4? I don't know. War Never Changes. So that's our intro to the game. Out of Time. When Freedom Calls can be skipped by going directly to Diamond City. Okay, so that these are the quests. So normally I would go to Jewel of Commonwealth, Unlikely Valentine. So these are kind of quests as far as I remember. And under reunions you can do one or the other. So go here and so on. So if you played this game, have a look at that. A Hang Moon, no idea what the game about this game, but it's weapon flowchart. This is zoom in. So cheap path, you start with a chromatic weapon. It costs 20 gold and blah blah blah, has some stats. And then you can, oh no, sorry, you start here. I think you start here. Sorry, no, you start here. So level 10. True Profan, whatever that means. I'm not sure, maybe you can upgrade to this and then it changes to this and to this and to this. Probably some options that you can have, I don't know, but basically your weapon goes like that, right? So you have now legendary level stuff, and then you can upgrade weapons to here, to stage 12, compared to starting with stage 1, I suppose. So even such simple things as a sword can have so many different, things, and you have to keep a track, so you have to have a special art for that. So in each level something changes, so you have to send to an artist something like this, so they can, draw a simple one and then enhance it. Maybe it has a I don't know, water magic, so might be the artist will work with blue colors, and then maybe it's fire magic, so maybe it would be reflected in the art, and so on. So again, this flowchart is important also from an artistic standpoint of view, not only from technical. Text adventures, is it? Text adventure flowcharts. Simon Holiday, don't know what that means. Again, some examples, not so easy to read, but basically you would, so that's the end of my examples. I will give a link to them, but they're not that important. Only if you, maybe I'll just give a link to artistic one and to the Fallout, because many chances you have played that and you would recognize it. Otherwise you just Google flowchart and something. So again, you need flowcharts for such simple things as load screen, UI, basically the screen, the starting screen of the program, of the game, and going to all of other things, in your game. Anything that has a choice and the choice matters, then you should have a flowchart. So today let's try to concentrate on something. I mean, some of you have already thought of character progression and know something about your characters. Others have thoughts on levels, others have something else. So see what suits for you, what makes sense for you mostly, and let's try making some flowcharts and posting them into the today's work section. And don't forget to post what you did last time, and don't forget everything that you post on forums. Everyone should read, look through, comment, ask questions, because it's good, it helps. Okay.